And these are all, I'm sure there are people listening right now saying, Paul, you were just crazy with this. All I'm doing is throwing out, telling you, you asked the question, why?
It's not crazy. This is the beauty of philosophy. It's you get to entertain these possibilities. But it does sound, though, that you are a believer and that you do think that many of these things... I think
there's enough evidence. I'd be very surprised if somehow the government or anybody else was able to come out and say, okay, we'll show you this is our own technology, and it has been all along. If they did, I'd say, okay. I just don't see how, at this point, that could be possible, human technology. They're doing things like, hypersonic speeds, really, really fast, so that if one of us were on that craft, the human, the acceleration would, kill them. They do things like make those kind of things, and they make a right turn at that kind of speed, which would just crush them, if it were human, crush them against the side of the thing. They have transmedium, and this is all demonstrated by, things that we have records of, videos and radio stuff, radar stuff, that they can come from outside the atmosphere, so from space into the atmosphere, and then at some point go into the water and come back out. It's called transmedium. They can go through those mediums in the same craft without breaking a sweat. We have.
Do we have footage of that? Mm-hmm. Is it
and
on
a
YouTube?
Lot more that. Yeah. You would look
I'm not asking you to look it up, Neil. I'm just like,
I could suggest stuff later, but sure, yeah. This is some of this, and it's very blurry. But the word is that this stuff was, now that Congress is demanding hearings and they're having closed hearings, they're seeing the really clear stuff, longer video, and they're coming out saying, "Why haven't they told us about this?" And that's why we're about to have more hearings in Congress about it.
So I'm completely unaware about what's going on with this. So what was maybe a recent UFO sighting or something that's taken place, and what's happening in Congress right now about that? Because I'm unaware.
Okay, so for instance, in one incident is called the gimbal incident. Another one is the Tic Tac incident, because the thing looks like a little Tic Tac mint. You've got the what do they call it? Go fast. In general, these things have taken place since 2000. Were kept secret. The pilots you can't talk about. But then finally, beginning in 2017, you have people involved who say, we can't keep this secret anymore. They don't break their non-disclosure agreements, but they come out, and it came out in the New York Times in 2017 and again in 2019, where they're quoting these folks, they're interviewing people, that yes, the government has had this black budget agency going on. They've been interested all along. They've been lying about that. And here's some video footage from one is off Catalina Island, Southern California coast. Other stuff is happening off of Jacksonville in the Atlantic Ocean. And you see the thing coming. It's doing all these wild stuff like that. It's I could go on and on, but just read, take a look at the things. They we're getting reports now that when they go underwater, they go really fast, maybe hypersonic speeds, and they're not creating disturbance in a wake, that kind of thing. When the thing splashes in, there is no splash water; it just goes in. We have the Navy does very sophisticated tracking stuff for what submarines do, and they're tracking this stuff. And they can't talk about it. When it was brought up in the last congressional hearing, they said we'll have to talk about that behind closed doors. They didn't deny it, but it's happening. So since 2000. Some that involve military personnel in situations. So it's not just, your Aunt Josephine saying, oh, I saw this thing in the sky last night. It's trained military pilots, especially pilots, but the people on the ships as well. Instrumentation that is the most sophisticated we have. Multiple forms of instrumentation.
And this is another good reason to think that places like America and other highly developed nations would have more access to things like this.
Right. Yeah,
it's because they have the instrumentation. Yeah.
But again, you have it happening in Iran, Brazil, Russia. China keeps a lid on it, but there are people who say, yeah, we know that China's seeing stuff too. So trying to get back to your particular question, which was,
I don't know.
So we're still. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's right. Some water. Yeah.
At this point, seems to be there may be a slow disclosure going on with the government.
That was
the
my
fact
point,
that they
yeah,
have let some of these people come out with non-disclosure agreements and say this much and stand up to the edge and kind of wink about the rest of it. People like Luis Elizondo, who was actually the head of the black budget UFO study thing and kind of finally came out. That maybe that's why they're finally letting them now talk about it, that their plan is ultimately that it's going to get out, so we might as well do it kind of slowly so people don't panic. But you still have, by all testimonies, people within the Pentagon pushing hard against this, either because, again, they don't want to be embarrassed, they don't want government to lose face. There have been a number of folks, including Luis and others, who say that within, especially the Pentagon, you actually have people of a certain religious bent who either believe it's demonic or somehow that if the information came out, it would contradict their faith. And so as a group, they're pushing against any kind of disclosure of this. So the other thing is that, and for people that they're probably, well, I'm going to say probably crimes committed in the cover-up. In part, if nothing else, things have been kept from Congress, from the committees that are supposed to, by law, have oversight of these things. They haven't been told. And that's what's got Congress so angry right now, the people involved with it. The intelligence committees, both House and Senate. So they had hearings May 17th. The government put up as their witnesses two people who knew nothing. It was embarrassing. And then that frustrated them so much that they're coming back. They're going to have more hearings with people who really know. And they've put in legislation that now allows folks, even with non-disclosure agreements, to go through this channel to Congress to say, this is what I know, including about crash materials. Even if they're people who aren't government officials, but who are with the private aerospace industry that some claim have been given these things to study and try to reverse engineer. So all that stuff's happening. It's going to happen soon now. And the witnesses, and then people, I could go on, so many characters I could mention out the public right now, but Gary Nolan, Stanford professor, was nominated for a Nobel Prize right now, was approached by the CIA some years ago saying, in his office saying, here's some pictures of what's going on, the brains in people and their bodies and stuff, and it came from contact with UFOs. Can you help us understand this? He's gotten very public recently in talking about things, but he says, for instance, that he knows personally the whistleblowers who are going to take this method and take it to Congress. Now, Congress will probably start out by having, in fact, they already are having closed-door hearings about a lot of this stuff. So it may not all get out in public, but I think it's going to leak if they do.
How do you know that? If it's like what would people look up to see anything about these congressional things?
Well, we already know about, obviously the ones that took place, but...
Just speaking to the mic.
Oh, yes, sorry. The things that already took place. But you have people that have actually, like Gary Nolan, who've actually been briefing, Louis Elizondo, have been briefing congressional staff members who are preparing for the hearings. So it's going to happen. The whole January 6th thing kind of overshadowed stuff for a while, made them back off on the timing. But I think I can guarantee you it's going to happen, unless, Lord help us, I just hope the Pentagon doesn't, in order to try to hide things, find some way to get us in a war or something to distract us. That's an awful thing to say, but it would not be the first time that war has been excused.
Thank you very much for watching that clip. Before you go, do us a favor, click like, click subscribe, and if this really meant something to you, help us out by sharing it.